So it is. People now that live there by the name of McHugh's. McHugh's. M-C-H-U-G-H. Just right up towards the top yard. Been a wee shed.
So this is the property of where my great-grandmother Catherine used to live.
Yeah.
This is the old Clarke Homestead property.
Yes.
And that's the old shed.
That's one of the old sheds that would have been here those over a century ago.
Wow. And they used that for a store, you believe?
I would say so. And down here, if I move down, this looks like, I mean, around this area were another store.
Really?
If your great-great-grandfather would have had, your great-great-grandmother, Bridget, James and Bridget. And roughly where you're standing would have been where the old house would have been.
Wow.
Along here, this would have been here, I would say, in those days. This wall. It's winter time, so there wouldn't be much bloom about it. Now, there's roughly around this property there's about 30 acres of land.
Okay.
And there's 22 further up the mountain.
Wow.
That's how much.
That's a lot.
That was a lot of land.
But they didn't really use all of it, did they?
I very much doubt it. You wanted to come over here?
Yeah. Here's the new house. And there's the dogs. It's pretty cold out today. We're up in the mountains, which makes it worse. It makes it colder. This is the view that my great-grandmother would have seen every day. Here's the old shop, now a tool shed. I wonder how they kept the back in the days, you know, before cement, how they kept the stone together.
Well, James, your great-great-grandfather, was a stone-mason, so
Right, he was.
he would have known what to do.
Yeah. That was a pretty...
We reckon that, you know, when you see the old wall that's still here on the shed, we know from the photographs that that was the type of storage that they had. So he definitely would have, he probably maybe done some of it himself.
Are there any old photographs from when the family was here?
Not really, only the ones that I sent over by email last year. But then the house had been expanded over the years.
Right.
The people who live here now, the father of one of the ladies that lives here, he bought the place of my grandfather James Clarke, who would have been a son
Right.
and a sister of your great-grandmother Cassie. And, but he hadn't the money. I believe that money came from his sister that was in America.
Really?
Yes.
Which sister do you think that was?
The sister of McHugh would be an
Oh, I see.
would be an aunt of this lady that would have sent the money home.
Now, Jim, your Uncle Jim last night had mentioned that he believed that the sisters in New York, the Clarke sisters, you know, Catherine and Jenny, were upset when James sold the property. Did you ever hear anything like that?
I never heard anything, but I know my auntie used to tell me that that grandfather, poor father, who would have been Jim's father,
Yeah.
he never really talked much about the sisters.
No.
And maybe that's the reason why he never talked about it, because they were upset of what he had done.
Yeah. And why do you think he sold the property?
Well, he was, according to my auntie, she said that he was like a man of vision, wanted to progress, and the only way to progress was to move on, move down,
Yeah.
instead of living up in the main.
Getting to the more the downtown part of the area.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And when did he sell the property?
About 1928. My auntie was Rose. She was only 4. She was born in 1924, and she said she moved here when she was 4. Obviously, that's what she was told. So I would say I checked with the McKees last year, and they said yes, it was in the late 20s when the.
So your Aunt Rose actually lived on this property?
Yes.
Briefly?
Briefly for 4 years.
Does she remember it at all? Or?
I very much did when she was only about 4.
What about Jim? How old is Jim? Much older?
Jim is 2 years younger.
2 years younger.
So he would have been born around 1926.
So he would have been. He wouldn't have remembered anything.
He wouldn't have remembered anything.
Wow.
You know.
Very interesting.
The only one who would know would be my father, Patsy, and he's dead now 6 years, 7 years. 7 years coming, yes.
And there were 9 siblings in the Clarke clan.
Yes, that's right.
From James Clarke, and then from Bridget McKenna.
Yeah.
And we know that Catherine went to America.
There was Catherine, there was Mary A. and Jane. They were the first 2. Mary A. and Jane were the first 2 that went in 1900. One of the descendants of Jane is the Kellys who were here last year.
Right.
And then there was Catherine, Ellen, and Bridget, and I think Sarah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's Sarah. But with very little information on some of them.
Yeah.
Mary A. and Ellen.
And Sarah.
Yeah. But I think Donald might know a wee bit about Ellen.
Who's that?
Donald Walsh.
Donald Walsh, right, yeah. You think we can go inside and check out the shed? Is that possible?
Bridget, your great-grandmother, who most likely had the shop here.
Yeah.
When my grandfather James took it over, they had another store away over there.
Yeah.
At the end of the concrete, and there used to be steps going up, so it was like a two-story shed.
I wonder what that chair is from. That's.
That'd be the chair that would have been around about in the 50s in the old house.
Really?
Yeah. That would have been the style way back in the 50s and 60s.
So that